Hi everybody and welcome to Scottish Autism. I'm really pleased today. I'm joined by Emma McCaffrey. Hi Emma.
Hello.
And her mum Alison there as well. I'm really pleased that Emma's come along because a few weeks ago, actually was it maybe before Christmas, Emma? It was before Christmas, wasn't it, your premiere?
Yeah.
You very kindly invited me along to watch the premiere of your film, Bunch of Tangled Wires. And I was so impressed. On a number of levels, I was really impressed because it takes, I think, a lot of courage to tell your story in the first place. It takes even more courage to film it and put it out there. So I was really keen to have you along for a chat with us, learn a bit more about you, the film, and give people the opportunity to watch the trailer and then follow and watch the film if they want to. So let's start by tell me a bit about yourself, Emma.
Okay. So my name is Emma. I'm from Edinburgh. I'm an amateur filmmaker, but I'm also a performer, an actor with a theatre company called Lonha. I'm also a member of the charity Get Together, and I've also done some film editing with them. I also film edit for a disability-led YouTube channel called Reluctant Penguin. I'm a tenor horn player for the Salvation Army, and I love playing the Elder Scrolls and the Fallout games over and over again, as my mum will attest to. I also really like history, and I can name all the kings and queens from William the Conqueror to Elizabeth II, but then again, so can anyone if you watch enough horrible histories, as we do.
Great. Well, you've got a lot of interests, a lot of talents. Unlike me, I can't remember what I had for my breakfast, Emma. I never met who the kings and queens were. So you're certainly impressing me. So you've got a diagnosis of being autistic, yeah?
Yeah. I was diagnosed with both autism and learning difficulties. I would say I was diagnosed with learning difficulties first.
Right.
And then I was given the label Asperger's syndrome or high functioning autism at 11, but I just prefer to call myself autistic. We probably think they had some idea that I had autism when I was younger, but it took a while to get the diagnosis. Thankfully, it got there before I went into high school.
Yeah. So when you got that diagnosis, Emma, can you tell me a wee bit about how that felt for you?
I think for me it's kind of different. I know a lot of people have said there was a sense of relief and stuff. For me, it was kind of like, oh, okay, almost. My parents didn't make a big deal about my diagnosis. My family, it was very much my life just carried on in a way. But I do remember when they were sitting down with my parents, and the way they talked about me was very sympathetic. So at first I was thinking to myself, have I been diagnosed with cancer or something? But the fact my parents were just like, I thought I was like, okay, nothing to be concerned about. I was just happy I was out of school that day. So there was no sense of relief. I think I always knew I was different. So the fact I then received a label, I didn't feel any sense of relief until I was probably about 15. So a couple of years, that's when it hit me that, oh, okay, this is quite a life-changing, or it should have been a life-changing experience, in a way.
And can you say a bit more about that? In what way do you think it was a life-changing experience?
I think I was just used. I think I was just used to being treated differently. I guess, especially in the school environment. My family is I've got a younger brother and two sisters, and they always treated us the same. But in school, I'd always had support. So I guess, and I was always getting tested as well to do other stuff. So it wasn't anything new to me. What's the word? It wasn't until high school where they stopped giving me support. And there was one time they have these classes where they talk about diagnosis or other social things. And the teacher said to me, "Oh, by the way, we're doing a lesson on autism, but you don't have to be there." And I was like, "Why?" And they said, "Well, you might find it upsetting." So I thought that was kind of weird. And I said, "Oh, I'll go anyway." But when I went to that class that day, they said, "No, you don't have to go in." So I spent that class just being on the laptop, and I thought that was really weird. And that's when I started asking questions, and I realized that my mum had bought me books about autism, and it just never clicked in my head. That's you know what I mean. So that's when I started looking into it myself, just because of that one class that I was denied.
Mm. And ultimately, you're Emma. You're you, and yeah, you're the best version of you, as it Dr. Seuss says. One of those crazy childhood things, the Cat in the Hat or something. You know, you're the best you can be. So you made this film. What made you want to make a film?
So, as I said, I'm a member of Get Together, which is a charity that combats social isolation amongst disabled people and people with autism. Um, and they approached me because they'd recently started doing these online sessions with their members, in which members would talk about themselves and their disability, how that affects them. And the event was called inspirational event because of course it was. Um, but essentially, I was approached by one of their leaders and said, there's 4 or 5 autistic people that want to do an event together to talk about themselves, and we were wondering, because you do film editing, is there a good documentary or a good film that we could perhaps show? And we're asking you, Emma, because you're obviously I'm autistic, so I would know what a good film was. And I also was asked to speak, so I said I'll get back to them. And then I went on YouTube and I found a lot of the documentaries I actually watched as a kid, and I didn't like any of them to be honest, because a lot of the documentaries focused on basically how the child was ruining this family environment. It was a lot of the documentaries are family based and how autism is ruining the family. And underneath the comments, there was really horrible stuff about people wanting to burn these children alive and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
it must have been really distressing. I mean, that is
Yeah.
to hear that. Yeah.
I mean, when I was studying, when I started looking into autism diagnosis and I was watching these documentaries, it did feel for me like I was coming away watching these thinking, am I a monster to my parents? Even though I never had these ideas in my head before, and I got extremely paranoid about the way I behaved to my parents. Even though I think I was a generally good kid, I was a very boring good kid, but suddenly these realizations that perhaps my behavior could affect the family and perhaps the family's view of me. Um, so in the end, I decided to be incredibly selfish, and I decided, well, I don't really want to talk, to be honest. So I just decided I'll make a film and I'll talk about my own experience, because what's really important is that autism is an individual disability. It's developmental. I can't speak for everyone, and I emphasize that in the film. I can't speak for every autistic person. I can only speak for myself and what I'm going through. So I have to be, even though it was kind of scary, I had to be very frank and very honest in the film. So that's what I decided to do. And then I asked my mum to be involved, because even though there's a lot of debate in the autism community about having parents who are non-autistic themselves be involved, I think it's incredibly important for their voices to be heard, because we need to know what they're thinking, what their experience is. And I was what's the word? I was confident. I was confident my mum would be able to provide an honest, frank conversation as well, because that's who she is.
Sure, sure. And one of the lovely things when I watched the film, I loved seeing the relationship between you and your mum, so I just really wanted to acknowledge that. And if you're not comfortable going into that in any more detail, that's fine. But I think that, you know, that relationship between you and your mum really, really shone through, and that honesty and that love. Um, is there anything more you'd want to say about that? I mean, your mum's obviously been a great support to you, and you
I think she shielded
had a
me.
family, and you know all of that. So
I think she shielded me from a lot of possible discrimination that I could have faced as a child and as a young teen. Because certainly when we sat down during the film, all of it was improvised. The questions and all the answers was all improvised. So I was learning a lot, just sitting there and listening to her speak. I mean, I didn't know about parents coming up and saying to her, it must be very difficult with Emma at home and stuff, because I was a very shy person outside of the home and in school. But so, I don't know if it was just people just making assumptions, but both my mum and dad fought for me really hard if, in the education, and at the moment she is my main carer. She is looking after me. As much as I, you know, at 28 years old, really don't want her to be looking after me. I do need her. So she is my shield. She is my caretaker, and yeah, she knows a lot of things that I would never project to the rest of the family as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we all need somebody, don't we? We all need somebody who gives us that feeling of security and safety, and that we can confide in. It was one of the highlights of the film for me, the sort of banter between you. I just absolutely, I loved that. So what is it you're hoping that people will learn from the film? What is it you want people to take from it, Emma?
Well, it's not my place to, you know, demand that people pay attention to what is discussed or shown in the film. My mum and I discuss a lot of things, such as growing up, getting diagnosed, the problem with ABA therapy and labeling, as well as issues with education and getting me into the work environment, or the work environment as it is. It's a very personal story for me and for my mum as well. Perhaps those who may not really know or understand what autism is can find a very human and honest portrayal or story, or the effects at least in our lives, and then go away and learn more, or even be friends of other people. Maybe, you know, combat the loneliness that comes comes with having autism or disability.
Yeah, I really understand that. Why did you call it Bunch of Tangled Wires? Why did
Uh,
you
so with Long Half Theatre Company, I actually did a show called Emma and Jill. So obviously it was named after me and a neurotypical actor called Jill, who runs Catherine Wheels Theatre Company. So Catherine Wheels is a theatre company that goes around schools and does shows for children. And so they approached Lonha with the idea of perhaps having some disabled actors do a show with them. And somehow that ended up just being me on my own doing a show about autism, basically. So we did a very crazy, weird show about two actors trying to have a show about autism. So Jill had her idea about how to portray autism. So she tried to portray me as a very shy person, you know, the same characterization of autism that's shown in films. Well, so I was frank and honest. But there was a monologue that I wrote for the show, and it came because a lot of in the workshops, a question that kept coming up was, what does autism look like from these kids? So my illusion, because I like to use illusions, was that autism is kind of like having tangled wires from headphones. You know how headphone wires get tangled, but they get tangled in so many different ways that there's no single way of getting them tangled, and that's what autism is. It's an individual disability. We have two wires at the back of our brain that are tangled, like headphone wires, and there's no single way they've been tangled. So it affects us differently, and that seemed to work.
And that is just, it's really amazing imagery. It really, really resonates. And so that makes me think things you were saying there about maybe somebody watching this will just have had a diagnosis. They might be quite young. They might be working their way through, you know, all the negative stuff that you sometimes find. So what message would you give to somebody like that? What would you want to say to them?
I mean, to the normal world, I guess we are needed. We are needed because there needs to be alternative views of the world, even if it's not what you want to hear or if it's uncomfortable. You know, we're not, autistic people are not challenging people. We are just in a very challenging environment, society, everything. But we will challenge something we feel very strongly about or against. But we are very loyal to the people who have shown care about us. We are vulnerable to a society that has shown it cares very little. So I would say specifically to the neurotypical world to please befriend us and listen to us and not be afraid to ask our opinion or even just ask how we are doing today. And for autistic people in general, don't be scared to be yourself, no matter how bland, in my case, or outlandish you may be, because being selfish is quite fun, actually. It's very good for you.
I don't think a filmmaker, musician, actor could ever be described as bland, Emma. I think, you know, you've got an incredible set of talents there.
Mm.
We're going to watch a little trailer now, so you and I will go on mute and we'll play a 2-minute trailer and then we'll come back for a few final comments.
I watch other documentaries about autism or any condition or disability. One thing that strikes me is that often it's shown to be a negative thing. It's a negative thing that impacts often the child that's featured or the adults, and also negatively impacts the family. A lot of these documentaries focus on the negative, and the whole thing to me seemed to be like, this could be your life, thank God it's not. And for me, looking at it as an autistic person, it's generated very negative feelings about myself. And there has to be a more positive way of showcasing and educating people rather than, you know, having a documentary that focuses on pitying us, showing the negative aspects of us. There has to be. I mean, I had an obsession with musicals as I got older.
Yeah, but that was fine.
Yeah.
You know, most people have obsessions. Some people have obsessions with media people or singers, you know. And to be honest, it was good that you had an obsession with musicals because it helped you out and it gave you a voice. And you still have a very strong singing voice, you know. And I says, so you sing, you definitely get that from your dad. You know, you have the ability to sing, and because maybe being autistic, all your life you've had to try and act as someone normal, whatever normal is, yeah? You've tried to fit in. And so the singing and the acting and your love of musical theatre has combined to make you who you are today.
Wow, really, really powerful stuff. And what a beautiful singing voice you do have, Emma. Very, very beautiful.
I just want to say the thumbnail on the channel, I actually posted the video to a Facebook page dedicated with autistic people, and there was it was very positive feedback. But I got 3 angry faces, and immediately the comments started defending me, saying, "Oh, it must be the thumbnail." So immediately I thanked everybody about it, and I said, "Sorry, I'm not very good at thumbnails." And a guy actually emailed me or messaged me some pictures for me to choose from. So that's why the thumbnail's got it's got the headphone wires and the picture of me at 3 years old. So I guess a big thank you for that.
That's pretty cool. I mean, people always have a view, and what you've gone to great lengths today to say is that it's important to be your authentic self, and it comes across in the film. So do you have another project in mind? What's going to come next, Emma?
Well, I'm still working with Get Together. I've done a reaction series and interviews with the members, basically to give them a chance to discuss their lives and disabilities. For the members of Get Together, the chance to be open and honest with their friends is very important to them. So that's my side project at the moment. I'm still acting. I'm doing some performances and writing murder mysteries. I just did one in January the 25th, and I'm still working on my YouTube channel. So obviously, where the film is, feel free to subscribe and just check what I'm looking on. Selfish plug-in, I know, but
definitely shameless plug. Get it right in there. Definitely get the plug in. I hope people will take you up on that offer, Emma. I really enjoyed it, and as I say, I felt very privileged to be asked, and wish you all the best, and very warm thank you from all of us at Scottish Autism to you and to you, Alison, for joining us today. And I really hope that people will come to your site and watch your excellent film in Drove. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.